You've heard what Mikel Arteta had to say there. Downbeat, but still upbeat at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, look, pretty well what I was, really. I think he's right to say that they gave a good account of themselves today. They didn't in the League Cup, so that was an upgrade. It could have been so different, and there are going to be 5 more games to play. It's not over, and it's interesting that Pep is now trying to play it down. You know, we've done nothing, we're not top yet. But, you know, the pressure may switch to Man City. It'd be interesting what we hear in all the news outlets everywhere we go now. Will it be Man City's to lose, and will that really be powered on and switched on in the same way it was in the direction of the Arsenal players? Let's see. Maybe not, because they've already achieved many great things, haven't they, in this modern era. Pep's been quite magnificent, so maybe it works differently. But I suppose if you know, if you're Bernardo Silva, you want to leave with another trophy, with another one of these Premier Leagues, you know, on the mantelpiece. So that maybe puts a bit of pressure. But I thought City came under the cosh a little bit from Arsenal at the end, and they saw it through and got the necessary points. And we've now got an epic end to the season. Five extra games.
If you were one of those leaders in the current Arsenal dressing room after today, what would your message be when you get back into that training ground and got everybody together?
We do everything we can to win it. There's no way we're giving up. It's like a tug of war. You know, the rope maybe's gone their way a little bit, but we get a hold of it and we start to pull again. And we keep pulling until they crack. You know, that's what it is. It's one of those. We're not going to crack. We've got Newcastle next. I'd be in that dressing room. They've not won in 4 games, Newcastle. What a great game for Newcastle to get back on the map. But it won't happen while I'm playing. So you've got to kind of think and read every script and make sure that you cut it off at source. So Arsenal still got a lot to play for. Semi-final of the Champions League. You know, but there's no trophy there. So until they get that trophy, the question marks will be there.
Yeah. Think about the sort of giants of the game who grip of big matches. This is being done in a very different way in 2026. He's gripped this football match today, and it was incredible what we saw out there in that second half in particular. And by the way, I think Arsenal pressed on to him in that first half where they had the high energy. You know, I think Ødegaard and Rice really stepped in. The problem was in the second half when they fatigue you sitting, they wear you out, you can't get onto him as much. He just kept going deeper, didn't he, and just trying to draw on, and it became more difficult for them Arsenal players to get close to him.
Another modern legend of Manchester City, isn't he, Bernardo Silva? Might be another one that needs a trophy here around the Etihad Stadium. Let's remind you again of the table, and you're going to see a lot of this, aren't you, in the coming few weeks, because Manchester City are still in second place, and you know we sort of almost crowned them champions here today, but they've got some work to do.
No, but it's not the fact. It's the fact that coming into this game, could they stay within 3 points? No disrespect to Burnley, expect Man City to go and win at Burnley. Then they become top of the table, and that's what we was all expecting. That's what we was all thinking would happen. And the big sort of chat today, could Arsenal get a draw here? And they couldn't. Man City did it, and they're doing it. Well, so why would everyone rip them off?
A reminder, if they win at Burnley, which you would expect them to do, which you do expect them to do, they will go top on goal difference. Then Arsenal play twice against Newcastle and Fulham. Could go 6 clear again before City go to Everton, who've made life pretty difficult for Liverpool today, albeit lost, and Brentford, who'll be chasing European football themselves. So it's going to be a little bit nip and tuck, isn't it, in these finals?
Yeah, but Arsenal, from their camp, will believe that City are going to win every game. That has to be their mindset, and obviously it'll be the same for them. I think you can't be looking at other teams to try and do you a favour, and that's why it was in Arsenal hands a little bit today to come here and try and get a result, and a good result obviously would have been a draw. So that's the frustration. But Arsenal will now be sitting in that dressing room believing that Man City, and one of the biggest words in sport is momentum, and City have it at the moment, and Arsenal have lost it.
Beaten in 13 as well.
Dave, I'm not sure that Pep Guardiola thought in November, December that he had a team capable of winning the league this year. Kusanov hadn't emerged, Gay wasn't in the club, Semenyo wasn't in the club, Nico O'Reilly wasn't at the level. All of a sudden, these 4 or 5 players, Cherki, O'Reilly, Kusanov, Gay, Nico O'Reilly, have just stepped up a massive level in the last 4 to 6 weeks. And you thought, well, how is Pep Guardiola going to build this sort of 3rd championship winning team? They've gone from being a vulnerable, immature back four to being one now that looks like it can play together in these sort of big games. So these 5 players have sort of will be stepped up at a level that probably we didn't think they were capable of in this season. I'm not sure even Pep Guardiola thought he would be in this position.
He kept saying, didn't he, we'll be a great team next season.
Yeah, I think this is ahead of where they thought they might be, and I think where we all thought they might be.
No, but that's down on Arsenal opening the door for them. You know, we can talk about Man City. The reason why I said it would come to this game is because it was dependent on what Arsenal did. And Arsenal, in this running, they had the chance to put games to bed, and they haven't done. And now they've sort of brought that pressure on themselves.
We should perhaps also remember that City's best winning run over the course of this season and last is 6 matches. So they're up to 2 already by virtue of beating Chelsea and Arsenal here today. But to win the league, they might have to go on a winning run for the rest of the season. Does there come a point, Patrick, where in this position you are starting to think about goal difference?
Yeah, of course you will start to think about it. It's only 5 games remaining. And just to disagree a little bit with Gary, I don't believe that a manager like Pep in December will say, OK, if we qualify for the Champions League, I will be happy with it. I don't think that is a profile on the type of manager. I think he will challenge. And he is where he was maybe hoping the teams to be. I think he brings some quality players in December, and players are growing up and build this kind of belief and confidence. And in the back of his head, he's where he wanted to be. And they will be there at the end of the season. They winning the games today, give them that belief, that momentum. And I think now it will be Arsenal who will have to chase them, because I don't see them dropping points.
Yeah, but they would have got a lift. Obviously, Mike is saying there, but you then get a lift from Arsenal slipping up. That keeps your spirits up. Because even last week, the Bournemouth game, the day before Arsenal went to the Chelsea game, when these results are coming through, we've all been there, a good or positive result or a negative result comes in, and they can give you a lift. You go, tell you what, maybe they are getting nervous, and they're at our place next week. That would give you a lift. So they've had encouragement, but of course they made the most of it. It's well and good getting an opportunity, but they took it. Obviously, going to Chelsea last week, winning today in a tight game, even though they gave up a few chances. And that's where I go back to that. That momentum is certainly in the City dressing room now.
But we can't have a playoff, but we could have this title going down to goal difference if they all win their remaining games. Mikey, you've experienced this very famously before.
Yeah, Mancini always said, score. I remember when we come in half-time, 1 game, but look at these games, West Brom, Norwich, Wolves, United, I'm looking at the United game, and that's when Vincent Kompany scored that header, and that's when we thought the momentum, no disrespect to West Brom, Norwich and Wolves, we all thought we could win then. It was like, get over the line against Man United.
For a little bit of added context, you trailed Manchester United on goal difference by 2 going into this, and then won the Premier League by a goal difference superior of 8. So in those games against West Brom and Norwich, were you consciously chasing the goal?
Constantly chasing. Mancini said we need to score more and more goals, especially against that Norwich side, who at the time we thought we could expose them, Wolves away, but then it was just, could you get over the line? And we talk about momentum. Man United was that game for us. Win that game and you get over the line. And the Newcastle away was really, really tough. Remember, Yaya stepped up massively in that game, and then the last game of the season, it could have gone anyway, but it's just Mancini constantly saying, score more goals, because that could be the difference at the end. And it was.
Drink it in. Could you actually see a situation feasibly where they do both win all the way through to the end of the season?
No, I don't think both teams will win every game. Yeah, I don't think Arsenal will win 5 games and City win 5 games and Arsenal win it on goal. I think City are going to have to drop points somewhere, in my mind. I'm not quite sure where that is. I do think they've got a massive, massive advantage now.
Which games would you see Arsenal not winning now?
On paper, you'd say the Everton game, just because it can be a tough game for
No, where do you see Arsenal dropping points?
Oh, so I think next Saturday night's got a lot of danger, because, look, Arsenal, I think, have played well here today. They couldn't come here today and freeze, and they couldn't come here with a glass half-empty approach, and they haven't done. They played really well, I think, in the game.
They're on an awful run.
They are, but I just think the nerves inside that stadium, if Arsenal don't start well next Saturday night, or if Newcastle get a goal, next Saturday night is imperative Arsenal have to get over the line in this game.
Do you think there's more pressure going into that game than there would have been had they been leading? You know how tense it's been there all season.
I know, and I think that tension will still be there next Saturday night a little bit, and I think Arsenal have to cope with that next Saturday and come through it.
But that's part of the challenge, the tension. You know, I think the City players would have had tension today. They're at home. The manager said it, if they don't win today, that the league's over. So that's the challenge for these Arsenal players, going back over the last few seasons, playing under pressure. That's what the game's about. And City have been the best team in this country by far for the last 6, 7, 8 years, playing under pressure. Imagine the pressure that City players run today in front of their own fans. But they turned up. And you get the plaudits, and Gary said there, I think it's no good getting plaudits when you get beaten. It's absolutely no good.
No, but you can take positives, can't you?
No,
we all
we're losing today.
We can't a little bit.
There are some football clubs. It's not a small club.
No,
it's a big club.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying how we thought Arsenal would set up today.
I thought Arsenal would do all right today.
They would go in a low block. That's what we've seen. If you look at Arsenal's last 5 games, they've not been playing well. In some games, they've been getting over the line. In some games, not. Today, they showed when they press and when they're aggressive, they're a better team.
And surely you have to spin that, don't you, Roy, to your team?
But you're not surprised Arsenal came and done well here today. It's not good getting on the bus and the train.
But it's not that,
we should do that.
It's a mentality.
Do you want the plaudits or the points? What do you want?
Of course you want the points, and we said that earlier on. But we're talking about a team taking positives going into the next game.
And
they played a lot better.
Right.
Well, did you expect Arsenal to play as good as this in terms of offensive?
Yeah, I did. Of course I did. They're top of the table. They're a good team. They're no mugs.
I think Arteta at the end in his dressing room, he'll be saying, I'm proud of you. Play at that standard for the rest of the season and we'll win games.
I'm proud of you. Gary.
Micah, to be fair, in my experience, this is a movable object on this point.
I think I've got him next to me.
Hold on. I'm proud of you. Really?
No, my point is, I think he'll say, I'm proud of the way you played, and I think he'll say that if we play at that standard for the rest of the season, we'll win all 5 games.
I'm proud of the goal we gave away. That's the winning goal. That's a defining moment.
I think
it's in the goalkeeper's one hand, and 10 seconds later, it's in our goal. That's something to be proud of.
I don't think he'll say they were perfect in every moment in the game, but I think he'll say.
And City weren't perfect, but City won the game.
I know.
Before we move it on to Arsenal, do you think that Pep Guardiola gives Manchester City an advantage in this race?
Of course, a huge advantage. He's been there, he done it, and he knows what it takes to win. And obviously this experience, the way he's communicates with the players and the way he's conducting himself, the messages he's sending around, even to the press, I think he's composed when he's around. And of course the confidence and the belief that he's given to the players to go there and to perform the way they did today. And I think it's everything surrounding the team and the football club.
Is this the ultimate test of character and mentality now for these Arsenal players who've never before had he got over the line?
Yeah, but that's the situation they find themselves in. Obviously, 2 months ago, everybody was giving the league to Arsenal. They made a couple of mistakes, dropping points, and today they are level. Obviously, they are very close to losing the league to Man City. And I think we talk about it. He already said it. We talk about character. We talk about personality and the leadership. And obviously, if you don't have leader in some teams, it's always difficult. And if you look at, I said it before the game, you look at Man City at any time after the game. I saw Diaz coming in, talking to some of the players on the pitch. We also Haaland pushing the guys. Let's go forward. Let's move forward. We can make a difference. We see Bernardo Silva going at the back to defend at the back, 1 against 2, with his size, with his capacity. So which simply means it's going to be hard for them, but they still have to keep going, because at some point that battle or whatever will not be in front of them anymore. But we don't know when.
You see, they've been top of the league since October the 4th. But by Wednesday night, that might not be the case if City win at Burnley. I mean, just little things like that. Do they begin to get in players' minds?
They absolutely do. I mean, it's interesting. I was talking to Martin as well earlier, and the general feeling around the place is that all the pressure was on Arsenal today. Now, if you just take a step back, if you hadn't watched any of the Premier League throughout the year and you just looked at the league table, then you'd think, wow, pressure's on City here. They've got to win. You know, they're probably expected to win the league. They've won 4 out the last 5, etc., etc. It's only that Arsenal have been there so long. They've had such a lead. And that's why all the momentum, that's mentally, the pressure's always been on them all season. And now they've had a couple of bad results. People start thinking, right, they're cracking. And it's almost been a free punch for Manchester City. So they have been carrying the weight of the world on their shoulders. They have just cracked in recent times, and it's up to them now to get back on that bike and start pedalling hard again.
As a player, if we call it outside noise, the only way you stop it is by getting the results that take you on that journey to win it.
And we lost to Wigan, we drew at Everton, then we lose the league. We were at some point 8 points or so ahead. So you see, that's what I'm saying. Like when I went to Madrid, playing in the dressing room where You have people that have already won the World Cup, Casillas, European Championship, couple of Champions League. We were playing the final against Barcelona, and that's the top of Barcelona with Iniesta, Xavi, and co. And when I wake up, I got stomach ache because it's a final. It's going to be my first trophy. I want to win something. And I came down, I saw Ramos, Casillas, Marcelo, Ronaldo. They were laughing and drinking coffee. I'm like, what's wrong? They said it's going to be easy. They're going out there, play our football. So those are the things that I'm trying to explain to Martins, that
I understand what you're saying. So
when you have a team where we don't have any player that have never won a league before.
But that has to start somewhere, doesn't it? So this club here, we've stood here, you played for this club. 44 years they went without winning a trophy. So that group had to do it again, didn't they? Fresh. There was one or two Arsenal players in the group. Gael Clichy was there, Kohler was there. But apart from that, so they kind of brought in and experienced. We've got Jesus in our group, haven't we? So there's people in and around it who've won titles. But at some point, you've got to be the next group that does it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But it will happen one day. But right now, it's going to be so difficult because we know
the first ones is
exactly.
Hard. It's hard.
That's what I'm saying. The first one is always the hardest because now if they went through and if Man City, because of whatsoever, they draw against Burnley or the next game, then if they went through that, it's a mental head. It's beautiful. Then the next season, if they are 3 points or 4 points ahead or 5 points ahead, I can guarantee you some of Man City players 2 months ago, they still believe that they can still win the league because they know it can happen. But Arsenal players also will be thinking, we have already won the league, so let us chill out.
I hope they weren't thinking that. I hope they weren't thinking
because you can't tell me how come at the beginning of the season to October to April you won everything.
Yeah,
but you lost 4 games out of 6. It's not normal. It's not making any sense. So which means at some point either they release the handbrake, or at some point they're like, okay, you know what? At least even if you lose today, we are players. I used to be a player.
I know you think they'd lost 3 of the previous 53. By the way.
But those are the mistakes we make without knowing. Okay, if you lose today, we'll win the next one.
Adi, you go so far with mentality, you go a lot further with personnel. So if you're having to keep changing the personnel, which Arsenal have had to do, haven't they? So we've had Madiwaki, we've had Saka, we've had Timber at right back, now Mascara's at right